The New England Backgammon Club is holding a special event in May on the 17th, a Saturday, um, a standalone BMAB event. And this is an event that typically bolts onto major tournament events around the country, the ABT, American Backgammon Tour. And we're doing one right here at home. And a lot of folks, it will be alien to them. So I want to explain what's involved, why it's exciting, what you get, what you do, and also just explain the modern state of backgammon, competitive backgammon, in terms of ratings and status as skill level players. Okay, so BMAB events. BMAB means Backgammon Masters Awarding Body, BMAB. And here's their nifty little logo. And this is inspired by chess titles. Even if you don't play chess, I'm sure you've heard the terms grandmaster or master or expert or national master, maybe international master. And in the chess field, there's an awarding body, FIDE, that awards titles. And if you get a title, like it's always saying, well, how good are you at chess? Well, I'm a grandmaster. It's like, oh, he's a grandmaster. Okay. We don't have that in backgammon. We haven't had it, but we have it now. Unlike in chess, in backgammon, in the BMAB system, your win-loss results are going to be irrelevant. And that seems really weird. So in chess, you gain status and ranking and rating by winning matches, by beating people at chess, right? You beat a really strong player, your rating should go up, right? But in backgammon, the dice and the luck have such a dominant effect on the short-term effects that going on simple results, it might take more than a lifetime to have people shuffle out at their appropriate level of mastery. So what BMAB aims for is an objective measure of your decision-making prowess in backgammon. Because in backgammon, you roll the dice, you're faced with a decision. You can make a good decision or you can make kind of a mediocre decision. You can make a bad decision, right? So BMAB is trying to figure out how good are your decisions. And the Backgammon Masters Awarding Body has come up with a similar hierarchy of titles. So here you see that intermediate, if we start at the bottom, you climb the ladder from intermediate into the advanced levels, and they all have 3 levels. You get past advanced and you get into the master level, and maybe you climb into the grandmaster level. And for a long time, it didn't seem like maybe there would be anything beyond the grandmaster level because backgammon's really hard. But it turns out some players have performed so well that they created this super grandmaster rating that very, very few people are on the ladder of, right? So we have titles, and the titles are based on performance rating or PR. And this is a term you'll hear in backgammon circles. And you'll see that at the bottom, a rating of 16. If you get to the 16 level, you're an intermediate 3, and you climb. And like in golf, the lower the score, the better. Because the performance rating has to do with how many errors you make. The fewer errors you make, the stronger player you are. So as you get up the scale, you see this performance rating, your errors get smaller and smaller. And your rating in BMAB is based on experience points. If you just play one match, you could play at a 16 as an intermediate, or just as things go, maybe you'd play as a master. Or maybe you're grandmaster. One match doesn't tell you much. There's actually a lot of luck involved in a single match. So to achieve these titles, you need to sustain a high PR level over a substantial number of experience points. An experience point is just a match length. So if you play a 9 point match for BMAB, that's 9 points. If you play two 7 point matches, that's 14 points. So you can see that you need at least 100 points of experience to get rated on the lower proficiency levels. And then as you get higher, they demand more. It's like, okay, like if you're going to be a grandmaster, we're going to think of you as a grandmaster. You need to perform at this level over 200 experience points. Your most recent 200 match points. So that could be, say, if you were playing 9 point matches, it might be what, 20? 29 point matches, 22, right? So the idea is that backgammon is a game of luck and skill, and the skill expresses itself over the longer term. So you perform at a high level over a long term, and you earn your master title. When we play our NEBC tournaments, there's kind of a nebulous thing. Open is the higher level, and anyone can play open. Like no matter what your history or skill level, you can play open. That's what open means. That's where the strongest players play, and if you want to play with them, you can play. The intermediate division we have is limited. We don't let people who are master level players sandbag and play against intermediates and try to scarf up all their money. The intermediate and NEBC is probably around an advanced level 1 or 2. If a player was an intermediate and playing around this level, I might buy him a beer and say, look, Sue, it's time to step up. Okay. But that's kind of a floating thing, and it depends on how large the club is and how many people are coming. So how is this performance rating, this error rating, determined? Well, it's calculated by backgammon software. And if you play on any of the major online backgammon servers, you'll often see it displayed. So for instance, Backgammon Galaxy, when you finish a match, you might see the screen like this. And I played one this morning just so I could get the screenshot. I played a 3 point match against Neko Davia, which is a pretty cool name. And I lost. But my error rate was a 557, and his error rate was a 724. So it gave me a little crown. They said, "Oh, like you got the performance crown. He was the winner. He got the winning crown, and he gets the points and the coins." But Galaxy is saying, "Hey, that happens sometime. It's nice to know you at least maybe played a little better than he did." Here it's called an error rate. Remember on the last screen, I called it the PR, the performance rate. But a lot of times people just call it the error rate because it's based on how many errors you make over the course of the match. So you might just see a little different terminology sometime. Try that again. There's another site called Backgammon Studio Heroes. A lot of the online tournaments are played there. And when you're finished, you'll get a screen like this. And here I played a match, a 13 point match, and I lost. But I played a very solid PR. I actually timed out in this match. I wasn't watching my clock, and I lost on time, which was unfortunate. But here it is, the PR 482. It also gives a luck rating, and luck is something that the computer can also tell you about. I find luck ratings uninteresting. If you played well, you played well, and if you lost, you got unlucky. Backgammon Hub is another really great site, and it's the one NEBC uses for its Wednesday night tournaments. We have a little online jackpot on Wednesday evenings. We play on Backgammon Hub. And this is a screen just from my profile. I play my friend David. We play a match or two most days. And here it lets me look at my last, I can just scroll down my history. And this column is encircled in red as my PR. So I played a 3 and a 7-6 and a 2 and an 11-6 and a 2 and an 8. And I show this because you're when you understand what your level of play is as a PR, you say, "Oh, I play around a 5," or I'm in the nines. I'm trying to work down to a 6, right? Or I'm trying to get under 10. Match to match, your actual PR is going to vary quite widely. Uh, and there's a lot of luck in PR. It just depends on the kind of difficult positions you wander into or how many decisions you get to make. So any single match PR doesn't tell you a lot. And that's why BMAB asks you to perform over the course of many matches, right? Let's go to the BMAB site itself just to show you how that works. Okay, so here's the BMAB website. But the important thing in this BMAB site is first there's an about page. I say first, but it's the third item down on the menu. And this tells you a little bit about it and gives you that chart that I pulled out and just it gives you some details about how it works. Don't need to get into that right now. What I think is really interesting here are the BMAB titles. And it's ranked right here from top to bottom. A guy named Dirk Schiemann, who's written some great books, Super Grandmaster, S2 level. His last 300 PR is at a 239. That's just insanely strong. And you see a really great international representation. Mochi, one of the great players. He will bounce up and down off the top spot. Thomas Tendon, really sweet guy. Zdenek, this guy, I played in Cyprus when he was a teenager, and I was a little bit condescending. I think I'm pretty sure by that point he was a much stronger player than I was, but I thought, oh, this nice little kid, he's really trying. Um, anyway, he shows up here. He's sort of the top of the world right now. But you can go down here and see um, ranked by their titles and their last 300 PR. Um, I can sort this by country, Argentina, Australia, and zip all the way down, 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 down to the United States, UK, right here, right? Here's the top United States ranked players. Jerry Chansey, Victor Ashkenazi, Marty Storer. Any NEBC players who are tuning in know Marty. He's our local grandmaster. Just a very, very tough player. John O'Hagan, Bob Wachtel. These are, Neil Kazaros. These are like the great names in American backgammon. I'm in here somewhere. I'm not. Here I am. I'm down here. I'm a Masters 1 level at 455 right now. So I'm trying to become a grandmaster. That's a tough leap. That's my goal. This list is only players who participate in BMAB. So one of our strongest local players, Alex Zamanian, hasn't played any BMABs. And he would surely be, I think Alex would be up there with Marty, no doubt, top 5, I think. But he hasn't proved it. He hasn't gone under the BMAB strictures and shown it. So it's not like this is a list of the top, players in America. It's the top players in America who participated in BMAB. But what BMAB gives you is a goal. It allows you to try to improve yourself at a game that's infamously dominated by luck in the short term. And it can be very, very frustrating in backgammon. You can play a very long time and not meet with success, even if you're playing well. Um, I don't mean to whine, but just as an example, I was commiserating. I was whining to my friend Rich the other day. I have not won an NEBC tournament since 2022, like late 2022. In that time, My friend Marty has won 4 tournaments. My friend Alex has won 4 tournaments. They're stronger than I am. My friend Rich has won 4 tournaments. My friend David has won 4 tournaments. I think I'm stronger than them. I don't think they'd argue. And I haven't won any. And that's backgammon. If you can't handle that, you should take up checkers or some other game. It's frustrating, but it's fun. And that's why people participate and compete, right? But what BMAB does is it allows you to perform well and to feel a sense of achievement and progress, even when the dice don't go your way, over what can be many, many years and possibly even a career. So for me, if I can become a grandmaster, that's huge, even if I never win an ABT tournament. 139th. And if I go into my profile, right, little bio there, information. And like here's my match history. So this shows from the bottom up, my most recent matches that counted for BMAB. Here's my most recent, and if I went back 300 points, that's what matters for my current rating. But I can go back over all these seasons, see where I was back in 2015. And if I want, this is a memorable match I played with Mike Senkowitz, the first time I traveled outside Boston for an ABT. And I can go to this match and see information about it, and I can download the match and look at it again. I can replay this match because the file is right here, the original XG file. I can bring that down. So it's very exciting. You wind up with a library of your entire BMAB competitive history. Okay, let's go back to the other screen. So as I was showing before, if you play on some of these nicely designed sites like Galaxy, Hub, Heroes, you can download your match afterwards and look at it. It just remembers the entire match. But if you're actually playing a match that's going to count for BMAB, you have to do it live. Why? Because people cheat. Of course, if you could just upload matches from online sites, people would be using their robots or they'd be having their grandmaster friend over, feed them wine and tell them how to play, right? So BMAB matches have to be performed under strict live conditions. And they have to be played with clocks. And you use a setup like something like this. This is my little setup. You see the board, clock, scorecard, and you have this camera gizmo here, which is just like a very cheap GoPro, basically. We're not skiing here. All you need to do is capture a backgammon board, and it's just a video recording. So you record the match, and then after the match, you have to play the match back and transcribe it into XG. The XG is a software program, and you just input the roles and you indicate the moves that were played, and that's called transcription. So at a BMAB event, they take care of all that for you. The idea is that a team of organizers come and they brought with them 15 recording stations, all the little cameras, and they have the chips and the computer things and the organization to download all those match files and then farm them out to people. There's a little farm industry of people who are happy to transcribe backgammon matches. At this sort of event, which is what we're holding in Boston in May 17th on a Saturday, everybody's going to play 5 7-point matches. And this is really fun because, our normal tournaments, you play a match and you lose, and you play another match and you lose, and you're done. You go home. You're guaranteed at least two matches, which is fun. But once you lose twice, you go home. At a BMAB event, everybody plays the whole time. 5, 7 point matches in our case. Okay. And it's a round robin format that follows what's called a Swiss style. So, um, and there are variations how they do this, but the idea of a Swiss is that, let's say there are 14 players. They play the first round, 7 people win, 7 people lose. They match up the winners together and they match up the losers together. And then you get the next result. So some of the people who won once will win twice. After 2 rounds, a quarter of the people will have won twice. A quarter of the people will have lost twice. And then the fat middle half will have won once and lost once. And they keep pairing up people with the same records to winnow out a sort of a hierarchy. Like if you keep winning, it's hard to keep winning. So the number of people who are undefeated gets smaller and smaller because they keep getting paired up against each other, right? So it's not a tournament bracket where, oh, I lost my first match, now I'm in the consolation. It's nice. You can just like, okay, I lost once. I can still win the tournament. I can still do as well as anyone else. And the rough schedule we're looking at is that we're going to try to get in the door a little early. The folks at King's are saying, the organizers can probably get in 10:30, set up things, maybe open the doors for people to check in at 11. Maybe we can start at 11:30 if all goes totally great. More likely noon. And these rounds of 7 points take about an hour and a half. And so we roughly guess, round one, round two, round three, an hour and a half later, 4 o'clock, round four, 5 o'clock, round five. And if things go according to plan, we should be done around 7 or 8, right? And, depending how time goes, maybe we can leave more of a gap, like between round 4 and 5. People have a little more of a dinner break. Some matches end really fast, so you'll find yourself with a pocket of time and we order a hamburger or something in between. But that's the idea. It's a 5 round marathon over the course of a day, and it is a lot of backgammon. And everyone has to play all 7 matches, right? This is not an event where you should expect to show up and, oh, I played 2 or 3 matches and I got tired and right? So if you go 0 and 4, you're still playing that last match, and it matters because all of these are getting submitted to BMAB and are going to count for your rating. Okay, so it's a commitment. It's come ready to play a lot of backgammon, and I always pace myself. Anybody who knows me, I like my martinis. I have a beer in the early afternoon at NEBC things, and if it's after dinner, I'm having a martini. But at BMAB, I really pace myself because I don't want to be nodding off in the early evening. And it's a clocked event, and it's clocked at standard open levels. So at a 7 point match, you get 2 minutes per point, which means 14 minutes of bank time, for difficult positions and counting and things where you really have to think, and a 12-second delay for every play. Right? So your opponent makes his play, hits the clock. You have 12 seconds to pick up the dice, shake them, roll them, look around. I'm trying to think of what 12 seconds feels like. I think I'm getting around 10 probably. You make your play, you hit your clock. So if you go beyond that, that's okay, but you're eating into your 14-minute bank. Right. So you want to feel comfortable with that. At NEBC, our intermediates get 15 seconds delay, but we haven't had a lot of people running into time issues. So to register for this event on Saturday, May 17th, we want to point out it's not going to be a totally open thing. There's a limited number of stations, and it looks like 24 is the most we can handle. Okay. So if you're interested, when we send out the registration invitation, you want to respond promptly or you'll wind up on a waiting list. So the usual registration fee for a BMAB, if you go to like New York for the New York Open, Metro Open, ABT, or if you come to Boston in October, there'll be a BMAB event and you'll have to pay a registration fee of $100. But for this special event, that's going to be waived. USBGF is going to pick that up for everybody, that's really great. Because this covers, the cost of getting the equipment there, managing the files, sending these videos out to have people transcribe them. They have to be paid. And BMAB needs to take a fee so they can fund the maintenance of their site and their activities. So that fee is going to be picked up by USBGF, which is great. But as a condition, if you're going to enjoy the fruits, you do need to be a member. To register for this, or to participate, you'll need to have a current USBGF membership at the time of the tournament. And the basic subscription costs $45 annually. All right, so here's the USBGF Federation website. And if you just come here under membership and join, you'll see there are 3 tiers. There's basic, premium, and premium plus. So all that's required is the basic. The premium level gets you access to the Primetime magazine, which is really kind of a great, glossy, interesting magazine. And if you want the print version of the magazine, you got to go premium plus. I guess it's a really weighty, thick, glossy magazine with virtually no advertisements, so it's expensive. But the basic membership is well worth getting, and you can explore the things that are available on the site. So that's how you do that. Just go to usbgf.org. Like if you just Google United States Backgammon, you'll probably run into this site. And if you want to support Backgammon in America, it's a great organization to back up. So apart from that, there is an entry fee of $60, not too far off of what we do for our normal tournaments. And $50 of that will go to a prize pool for the people who do best in the tournament. And we'll take $10 off of each entry to give to the staff. And the staff are not our normal NEBC staff. These are people who are flying in at USBGF's expense. Dan Minardi or one of his friends, will be flying in and spending a weekend of time. This is very generous. This is a great opportunity. And if this goes well, and our local people like me can understand how to run this, maybe we can run it on our own next year. Maybe make this an annual event. I'd love to see that. So $60 entry fee, and prizes paid out in a Swiss format. It's not a tennis bracket with a clear winner. It depends how many people go, like in 5 matches. Maybe nobody, but maybe 1 or maybe 2 people, 3 people can go 5-0, and they will get divide the first place prize, and then usually there's a second place prize. So it's a little bit floaty, but that $50 of $60 per entry goes back to players who equip themselves best in the Swiss. There are optional side pools. So they're like, if people want to, I'll put a side bet that I'm going to do best in this, you can do that. The side pools for PR, kind of funny. It's like if Marty Storr is in the room, I don't think anybody but Marty is getting the side pool for the performance rating. And the match transcriptions, and this is the really sweet part. These matches are transcribed and they're logged at BMAB, and then they're sent to you. You get the match files. So you get to review how you played and where you made errors. And I'm going to go into how to understand those errors in just a moment. Right. So to me, that's a big plum thing, is getting those files. And you get those files when you play online, but playing live is different. Don't get the pip count. You have the live experience. Your opponent is sitting there. There's different nerves, different drama. But wow, you're going to try to play your best when you're playing in a BMAB, and it's going to go toward your rating. And all the entry fees and payouts to register, you're going to need to use Venmo or PayPal or Zelle. If you have a problem doing any of that, I'm sure I can help you arrange a payment one way or another. Um, and the pre-registration, to register, you have to pay ahead of time, which is not our usual thing. But people need to show up. We can't have no-shows because we need an even number of players and they need to come and play. And I'll probably show up and be kind of a wild card if we have an odd number, but we really can't have people registering and then deciding not to show. So I'm not saying it's non-refundable, but we would need to replace you with someone. And I think we probably can do that. But in other words, don't register lightly. It's a real commitment, more so than a normal weekly tournament. Okay. That I think covers what's going to happen, right? We're going to have this event. And so I'm prepared now to explain a little bit about how to interpret those files. If people are interested, if you'd like to understand a little bit about XG lingo language and how to use that tool. Oh man, that all came at once. I was supposed to come one at a time. Ding, ding, ding. I'll just run down the thing. So XG, Extreme Gammon is a neural net program. It's an artificial intelligence. It's self-taught. It's not a program that the best backgammon players got together and showed how to play backgammon. It's a neural net that was taught the rules of backgammon and then given training intensively in certain situations. You have to ask Macrocladus how this actually works. I don't know. But it plays against itself and just keeps track of its performance. And just over millions and millions of iterations starts to sort things out like, oh, here's what you should do. So what results from this, what has resulted, is a computer software program that plays better than any human player can play. You go head to head against this thing, it's gonna beat you. And of course, you're gonna say the dice are fixed. The dice are not fixed. The computer is better, right? So what's happened is that humans have had to come up and go, oh, well, wow, what a great tool. We get to see how this superlative AI plays the game, but it won't tell us why it plays that way. So it's left to us to figure out, wow, what's the logic underneath this, or how can I translate this mode of play into rules of thumb or guidelines so that I can play more like that guy, that dumb robot who can't articulate itself? And that's where you get interesting books. Roberti, Olson, people coming up with interpretations of how you can emulate XG's level of play. So when you feed your match into XG, it just says, well, here's what I would do. And it compares what you did and it says you suck. Basically, no. A lot of times says you did the right thing. But when you don't do the right thing, it says, nah, no, that cost you. And it tallies up for each move or doubling decision the cost of getting it wrong. And it keeps track of how many decisions you had to make. Now, if a move is forced, if you're on the bar and you roll a 6-6 and can't get back, that's not a decision, right? You don't get any credit for that. But any other time when you have an option and it's meaningful, that counts as a decision. So it tallies up the cost of all your bad play and it divides it by the number of decisions you had, and it comes up with a performance rating, sometimes called an error rating, which is the wasted equity per decision. And it's in millipoints, right? So the fewer errors you make per decision, the better. The Extreme Gammon website. So Extreme Gammon is the gold standard of backgammon analysis. Uh, it's a desktop software suite. It's PC native, but it's not hard to use on a Mac. You have to use an emulator called Crossover that works great. I'm a Mac guy. I'm not a computer tech maestro by any means, but it works for me. So don't be discouraged if you're a Mac person. It's like $60, I think, for this incredible tool. And if you're at all invested in, yeah, $60 for an activation. If you're at all invested in really improving your backgammon game, you need to own XG. Um, Also, XG has been recently sold or it's on the market. It's not clear what its future is. The original developer doesn't really want to spend time on it anymore. I'm always worried that it might just disappear. So I would want to have it on my computer before it does. Um, we're kind of in another, we're waiting for the next thing. This software has been around for about 20 years. Nothing is better. AI has come a long way. Something better might come along, but right now this is still it. How do we play an opening 5-3? I'm pretty sure everyone these days does this. Anyone want to, anyone attempt to do anything other than make your 3 point? Probably not, right? So with an opening 5-3, you make your 3 point, and XG is going to tell you here that if you do that, you wind up with a positive equity. You are plus 0.079. You have positive equity in this game. Okay. When you start, before anybody rolls, both players have zero equity. It's assumed you're equal strength because XG plays against itself. There's no weak player in XG, right? But it says, wow, if you are lucky and you get the opening roll 5-3 and you play it right, that's worth something. It's worth 0.079. 0.079. It means you're winning, right? You wouldn't rather the other guy got 5-3, right? You got 5-3. You're winning. You're plus 0.079. You don't have to play it that way, though. You could play it this way. You could split and come down. People might look at you funny because people don't do that very often, but it wouldn't be a huge blunder or something. And what XG is showing you here is, okay, you made the second best play, and now your equity is plus 0.032. If you played differently, you would have been at 0.079, which would have been better. You made a second best play and it cost you 0.047. So in terms of your error rating, your performance rating, it just dinged you. It said, okay, you just coughed up 0.047 that you didn't need to cough up, right? That's a cost. You have one decision and you got it wrong, and now your PR is like a 47 because it's 0.047 and it's in millipoints. Okay, not the end of the world. You're going to go on. This can work. Like, depends what he rolls, right? But XG is saying, like on the long run, you want to make that other play, not this play. Now, if you're me and you grew up reading books in the 70s, like Backgammon for Blood, and there were some ideas there about pure play, and some people thought making the 3 point with a 5-3 is too low in the board. Yeah, you want to make your 5 point with a 3-1 or your 4 point with a 4-2. 5-3, it's just too deep in your board. What you want to do is bring down builders so you can make those perfect points. So that was a mode of thought back then that turned out when the robots came along, they were like, no, that's really bad. That's actually a blunder. That's costing you 0.086. And actually, if you make this play, you're an underdog. You're minus 0.007. You're a tiny underdog, but you could have been a solid favorite at 079. But because you're a quirky 70s dude, you brought two down and now you're in the doghouse. So your PR is going to be spanked for that. Now, equity is a term we're talking about here. What is your equity in the position? It's like if you buy a house. If you buy a house for $100,000 and you borrow $300,000, then immediately you have $700,000 worth of equity in the house. It's the value of the house minus what you owe on it. And then if the value goes up 200,000 and you pay off 100,000, right? Your equity increases. You have more value in that thing. And so these numbers represent the value you have in the position. And one way to describe that is the fair settlement value of a position. So let's say that you're playing backgammon with your friend for $1 a point, right? $1 a point. If you double, it's going to be 2, right? Just like in a match. It's $1 a point. If you play this 5-3 opening properly, you're going to be at plus 079. And let's say right after you play that and you make the 3-point and your friend is shaking her dice, your phone rings and your spouse says, hey, you got to come home. The dog is sick. And you go, oh, wait, sorry, I got to go. And your opponent says, oh, okay, let's just call this a wash. Like we'll just start over next time. And because you're a bastard, you say, well, wait a minute, I rolled an open 5-3. I'm at advantage here. I've got equity in this position. I deserve to get paid something. This is, we agreed to play for $1 a point, and I won the opening roll, and I played it pretty well. I made the 3-point. Well, my equity is 079. So the fair settlement value is almost 8 cents. 0.079, where 1 represents the stake, 1 is $1. This is like an 8-cent position. So to be fair, you should pay me 8 cents, and then we'll call this game off, and I'll go home. So these equities are the fair settlement value. Like, what is this position worth? Like, if I had this position and we just played it over and over and over again, like hundreds of times, and we both played perfectly well, I rate to win almost 8 cents a game. Would be maybe boring. You get the same opening all the time. But if I play it wrong, if I come down with both, like in this position, the fair settlement value is actually negative. I owe you almost a penny. Almost a penny. So the equity is the fair settlement value. So if we were playing for $10 a point and I made the best play, you'd owe me 79 cents. Right? Or if the cube were on 8, it would be 8 times that equity, right? So the cube value doesn't really matter. The equity is always explained in terms of the full value of the game. And the stake doesn't matter. It's always just a function of how much you're playing for. But these numbers give you a sense of scale, like how good or how bad was your decision. Could you have done better? So here's a doubling position. This is a straight race. Just to get used to the XG screen, the dice are on my side of the board here. That means I'm on roll. And the cube is also on my side, suggesting that I'd been doubled earlier in the game. I'm on roll. I have 1 checker off. XG will give you the pip count. Race is even here. But we've got a checker off, and our checkers are arranged differently. Should we double this? Any opinions?
Yep, I would double.
Because why?
Well, you're more likely to bear off everything before the other guy. The other guy still has to come in, has a empty four, so some of the fours are going to be wasted. Also, ones and twos. So at some point, he may have to use large numbers to bear off ones and twos,
Okay,
and you
good.
don't.
Right. You're pointing like you're saying the pip count doesn't tell the whole story here, right? This gap on the 4 point is really bad. Every time he rolls a four, he won't bear a checker off, and we'll just dump a checker down here. And then he's going to have to use, there's a lot of wastage down here, right? Even if he rolls a six, he can only use 2 pips of it to roll this off. So White's position is very inefficient, right? But might be a difficult position to evaluate, and you might have various tools, racing tools, a keep count things. So you would use that, and you'd make a decision, and then XG would tell you that the answer, Amir got it right. It is a redouble and a take. That result is shown as the best choice. Okay, so redouble and a take. And that's represented here by the little XG icon. The redouble take line shows that the fair settlement value here is 949. It's 94 cents and 9 tenths. It's like 95 cents this position is worth. If you didn't double, if you just rolled on, your position is only worth 83 cents, almost 84 cents. So by doubling, you increase your equity from 83 plus to 94 plus. And this number here in the parentheses shows you the benefit or the cost actually of not doubling. If you don't double here, you're costing yourself 11 cents on the dollar. And you don't want to do that. That's a lot in backgammon. Okay. What it's saying is that if you were to play this now, in the actual game, one person is going to win, the other guy's going to lose. It's going to be on four. Somebody's going to win four or lose four. But if you were to play this for thousands and thousands of games over time, on average, you'd only win 83 cents if you don't double. Where if you do double, you win almost 95 cents. So you want to move to that higher equity state by doubling. Your opponent, meanwhile, if your opponent passes, she gives you a whole point, gives you $1. But actually, is saying, oh, it's not worth $1. You shouldn't pay $1. You should only pay 95 cents. Now, it might seem like a niggling little thing, and like it's not a huge blunder to pass this, but it's not right. You're giving up equity. And that's what BMAB is going to ding you on. It's going to say, you could have done better. You could have made a better decision by taking here because it's worth it. So fair settlement value. XG is showing you the different equity states that follow on your cube decision. No double, poor. Double take, better. Double pass, even better. Because when you double your opponent, you give them a chance to make a mistake. So that's nice. So you don't want to miss a cube here. Well, how about this one? Should we take here? Here, white is doubling us. We're on the bar. White is on roll, and white sends us a double. Opinions?
I would take.
Care to say why?
It's still not the end of the day, I guess. Like White still has two back checkers
Yeah,
to travel. I mean, it is the 4, 5, and 6 points are kind of a bit sad to look at, but still there are 3 points. We could enter, um we could get some sort of an anchor there, maybe
yeah.
the 3 point. So yeah, I do think there's still some life left, but again, I'm not sure. I would
Right.
take.
Okay. Good. Yeah. So our opponent clearly, it's obvious why they're doubling, right? I mean, we have no anchor. They've got a 4, 5, and 6, where Brady calls it the rack. It's like the rack of pain when you're on the bar. But yeah, they've got some ways to go to get these checkers back out. We have 1 point made. It seems coherent that we can win a fair number of these games, right? So, oh well, it turns out actually disagrees, says the pass. So 1-1-3, right? So the best you can do is just pass and give up a point. If you take, double take line is 1-1-3. So instead of just giving up $1, you're giving up $1.11 is what XG is saying here, right? And what's interesting is to look here at the breakout of what happens. Well, look, we won 29%. Right? And the last position was a take. We only had 22%. Now we have 29%. We definitely win a pretty decent share of games here. So you're correct about that. But look at the gammons.
Yeah.
White is winning almost 30% gammons. Ouch. Like it's just too expensive. The chance of getting gammoned here is just too much. Okay. So this is how we learn from XG. Like, oh, well, you know, I totally could see taking this. This is a non-obvious position to me. And if I looked at this and I was really working on my game, I'd say, okay, like, what would I have to do to turn this into a take? And I don't have the slide with me, but I think if we took our 3 point and just made it a little better, made it our 4 point, a little bit more of a compact prime, we can take this. Just that much. I think if instead of that, we just took this split checker and put it back on the 24, so he's not so flexible, it becomes a very small pass. So this is something you can play with an
What about
XG
if you
and
move white's 4-2-3? Did you test that out?
say what?
Like, what if you moved white's 4 points to his 3 points?
Oh yeah, degrade that a bit. I think
Yeah.
that might turn it into a take. It would certainly turn it into a close one, I think. Yeah. So that's exactly the kind of question that it's really good to ask. When you make a mistake, XG allows you to take the position and then tinker with it and go, oh, like, okay, this is a big pass. I blundered, I took, but like, why is it a pass? Like, is it so crazy that I wanted to take this? Like, what small differences could, you know, turn it into a correct decision, right? And this is how you look at it. So right now, I'm just trying to get you to understand this factoid box here, right? I'm almost done here. I just want to actually open up XG and just show you what a um, a file looks like. Okay, so here's Backgammon Hub, and I'm just going to go to my profile, and here's that list of matches I played with my friend David. And okay, the latest one, I played a 7-4. I must have made a bunch of mistakes in that. So I'm going to go to View, and here it shows us the match. And on Hub, I can review the match and actually scroll through it and look at the various plays, and search for my errors. So I'm going to download this, and it's going to like come flying down onto my downloads folder. Then I'm going to stick it on my desktop. You see it here over on the right of my desktop? Slideshow, big mess. Nothing embarrassing, I hope. And I'm going to drag this match into my XG window. And it's going to take a second to load it. But it's going to give me this log over here. This is the transcription of the game. And it's going to highlight in green plays that are errors. So here I see a yellow checker. My opponent is yellow. He made an error here, missed a cube here. Oh, here I am. I'm brown. I'm mostly interested in my errors more than my opponent's errors. So if I'm reviewing this match, I'm going to come down here and I'm going to, oh my gosh, I blundered with a 3-3. What did I do? So here's my position. Okay. So what XG is saying, so it finishes and asks me if I want to save the match. That's another thing we can get into. Um, but on this, so I'm looking at this position, it's going, oh, what did I do? I can click this thing, see the arrows. I came down with two, and then I just buried a checker behind. Oh, I'm thinking I want to block his sixes, right? I guess I was thinking this is a valuable point to hold this 10 point and just keep him out. And actually is saying, no, just do this. Just come down and make the bar point, make the solid little 4-point prime, and it's going to look like this. And hopefully we get missed, and then we just come home. So, this is a position I might look at and, okay, I get that. Or I might go, I don't really get that. Maybe I should save it and look at it later, or maybe I should save it to talk to my coach, if I have a teacher. So this is how XG works. And you go through and you look at the red blunders and you look for the green errors. Oh, look, here's double pass. Oh, I doubled. He was supposed to take this. He passed. And you can use this tool that'll take you to you can ask it to actually just take you to your errors or blunders. Okay, I think that's about all I have. And the big takeaway is this is a really special opportunity to play a BMAB in Boston. A lot of work goes into it, and you get to just do most of have the fun. You do the playing, we take care of the transcribing, and you get the files back. And then, I'm sure that I or other members of the club be happy to help you interpret those files, and maybe have a session about making sure you're set up on XG. You can bring a laptop to a tournament or something. Here. And thank you guys for showing up, because even if nobody had shown up, I would have done this anyway just so I could post it. But it makes it a lot more natural if I have an audience. So thanks.